Hello, I'm Bonnie Rabikoff, and this week we are in the kitchen at Inspired Occasions with their founder and CEO, Lon Lane. Lon, thank you for inviting us into your kitchen.
Thank you for being here.
Okay, so this is a bit of a departure from what we usually do, although we're going to be in the kitchen and we will be cooking. But your kind of entertaining is occasion-based. It's event-based. And
Right.
how long have you been doing this?
We're starting our 21st year. Started in 1991.
Okay. So what is the concept for Inspired Occasions?
Inspired Occasions is an off-premise catering company, which means we prepare things in our commissary and we take it out. Our goal is storytelling in food and event management. And what we want to do is take our clients and our guests on a culinary journey and an experience. And every event, whether it be a small dinner party for 8 or a big gala or we're doing bag lunches for 2,000, we want everybody to have an experience. So all of our planning and everything that we do to that end goes into that storytelling with food and beverage and ambiance as the core.
Okay, so that I would assume then that it's not just about let's sit down and talk about a menu, but you're having a conversation with your client about what they're trying to accomplish with that event and how you contribute to it?
Exactly.
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 So, have things changed over the past 21 years?
Oh, absolutely. In this particular business, you see it goes full circle, and it goes up and it goes down, and all the needs change all the time. It was great prior to 9/11, and then of course 9/11 hit, and then destination management companies from coast to coast had just major cancellations, contract cancellations, and some of our event companies went from like $8 million companies to $3 million companies, and that's a big change. And in the entertaining world, as the economy and the recession and all these other things have occurred, people still need to entertain.
Yes, they do.
The corporations still need to do events for their employees and for their clients and their customers, but they want to do it differently because they don't want to look ostentatious.
Sensitive to the times.
Exactly.
Sensitive to the times.
But they want to do it well, and they want to do it memorable. They want people to walk out of the event saying, "Oh, you know, that was so great. I had such a great time." But we're out of the lobster and caviar and shrimp and all that kind of stuff. But we're into more creative problem solving. And I think you're going to see that today with some of the things we're going to show you in the kitchen. One of the things we're doing for a benefit that's coming up later on in the month is how you take value cuts of meat, or how you take things that people reminisce on, or old-fashioned foods, and how do you put comfort foods, exactly, exactly. Okay. And how do you twist it? How do you put a spin on it? How do you make it a little bit different so everybody just enjoys it?
We have a special level of enjoyment when we feel cared for, and I think that is the secret to comfort food, is someone is taking care of you, or it brings back memories of your childhood when food was that to you.
Absolutely. There's no question.
You all have really been on, and it's a term that's used a lot, but you've been on the cutting edge of how this business works. And you were recently in Las Vegas leading up conferences and seminars. What were you imparting to the people that attended? I mean, they're caterers like you. What were they learning from you, and why are you so popular? Would you have 1,000 people in that? You're popular. You must have had something to say, Lon. You and your son Stuart. Yeah.
Well, we hope that's the case. We have a fairly large following. We go to Cater Source every year in Las Vegas, and it's the largest gathering of caterers in the world. It's about 4,500, 5,000 off-premise caterers and operators of food establishments, representing 38 countries. And we do seminars, and our seminars are generally based around food, but how to make money.
And so we have to do that too.
Exactly,
okay.
and because if we weren't in business, we couldn't be doing the things that we do. So we present seminars. One of our favorites was comfort foods from around the world. We took all of the comfort foods from 7 different countries, and we did a whole seminar on how you can do these as stations or at parties and do comfort foods from around the world and just have a great experience.
Okay, so the same food product and how it can roll out in several ways
Exactly.
for the guests.
Exactly, absolutely.
Okay, so no wonder you were such a big hit. But in addition to international recognition, there is, after your name, award, best of. What is the secret? I mean, that's a huge accomplishment. What is the secret for all those awards? And they keep going on year after year. How do you make that happen?
Oh, Bonnie, that is a really good question, and we analyze that all the time. And what we've determined is Inspired Occasions offers kind of a package. And I talked to you a little bit about the storytelling side of it. When a client calls in, from the minute they call in, we're trying to find out what do they want to have happen. And so our customer service is really a key part. Our staff,
Crucial.
Absolutely,
Crucial.
And our serving staff and our bartenders and our chefs, they are also attentive to the needs of the guest and the client. And we get so many compliments on our servers. We treat every event from start to finish in kind of a different way. It's just not about the food. It's about so much more than
About
that.
the food. And I'm assuming that a part of what you do is help solve some problems or challenges, or perhaps help the client better identify what it is they're trying to accomplish with the event.
Absolutely.
So all part of it.
Absolutely, it's all a part of it. We just met with a client last week, and they're having a function at the Jazz Museum, and there's a kind of quandary about what to do, and there's so much opportunity there. There's like Ella Fitzgerald's station with the kind of foods that she would have had, or the Sachimo, or all the different jazz players. And so all of a sudden, just an event at the Jazz Museum with food and beverage is going to turn into an event that is going to attach some of the museum pieces to food items that will bring memories back or educate people on who that person really was.
So the creative process, huge. It's
Huge.
A huge piece.
It's limitless.
And the attention to detail and the customer service, and of course, the food. And
Absolutely.
I love this.
Close to my
it's
heart.
close to you. Obviously, you're in the right place for close to your heart with food. Your son, and how wonderful for you, is now, this is going on to the next generation. He's a chef here.
Absolutely.
He is doing some very creative things with food. Tell us about how he got interested in this, and then we would like to talk to Chef Stewart and then go into the kitchen.
Perfect.
Okay.
I think Stuart shares my passion for food. And as a child, food was a major part of my life. I just loved being in the kitchen. My mom was great about me being in the kitchen. We only had 2 rules. One, you had to clean up,
There you go.
and you had to eat what you cooked.
Okay.
So I had to be real careful about what I decided I was going to try to cook, and it had to be at least edible. But Stuart, as a child, was exactly the same way. And I remember when he was a little boy, one of my favorite stories is I went in to tuck him in, say prayers, all the things that parents do. Yeah. And I was sitting on the side of his bed, and I'll never forget this. And Stuart looks up and he says, "Dad, have you ever thought about doing, picture this, like a white platter with green kales and lemons and red lobsters?" He said, "Don't you think that'd just make a really pretty platter?"
How old was he?
Like 4 or 5. It was just amazing.
He began his journey.
He
Yep.
did. And Stuart had cookbooks by his bed, like most kids have comic books, and he just read books. And he's an amazing young man. And he kind of heads up our research and development arm of the company. He's incredibly creative, has just an incredible palate, just a natural God-given talent.
Got that part right.
Yeah.
Let's spend some time chatting with Chef Stewart.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you very much for inviting us into your kitchen.
It's all our pleasure.
We continue our chat with the chef here at Inspired Occasions with their newer chef and son, Stuart Lane. Chef, thank you. I can't wait to get in the kitchen with you.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad you're here.
Okay, now I understand from having chatted with your father that you began this passion very early in life. Were you always interested in food and what it looked like and how it tasted?
I think that I've always had an interest in it because growing up, we always had people in the kitchen. There was food production in the kitchen, and I found early on that food was a great way to relate to the people that I was around. Believe it or not, when I was a wee I used to be very, very shy, except in that kitchen where I started learning and growing and developing. And I started gaining a lot of the confidence I have for the rest of my life based upon what I did back then. And to say the least, I did start a little young.
A little young, so like you sit on a stool and yes? And
well, a stool probably would have been a little bit more convenient.
Oh, okay.
No, I was standing on a red milk crate because I couldn't reach the counter. And my parents, I wanted to work in the kitchen so bad. I just wanted to help out. I wanted to help out. And my dad was like, what is the least likely thing that this child can either hurt himself on or mess up?
That was actually a good decision. Yep.
Yes. And that was making herb cream cheese in the food processor.
Okay. You're kind of heading up the research and development here. What's your process for this?
Being hungry. If I...
A good inspiration.
Exactly, a good inspiration always.
Yeah.
It can lead to some very interesting combinations, but
yes.
It's always a good thing. It's just you get a little bit of a hunger in you, and then you start looking as to, well, what sounds good? And then from what sounds good, you move on to something new. And that's kind of where our whole system for what we're doing today came about. Was I love corned beef. But why not do something different with it? Brisket is brisket and it's delicious,
yes.
But there's other areas that you could play with. So we tried it out and we're like, well, why don't we just do a corn smoked beef shank? Because to me, that beef shank with all the connective tissue and the fat inside of it has almost a better texture than short ribs, and it's beautiful presentation because it looks like a small baron of beef.
It starts out with hunger. What sounds good, and then you think about, oh gee, I love corned beef, and how can I make that experience even better?
Exactly.
So that's your process, coming from a place of hunger to a food item that might be common enough, and just kicking it up a notch.
Exactly. At the pop-up restaurant that we just did last week, one of the things I said was, the classics are the classics for a reason. They're a wonderful building block. They're the foundation, and you can build a house upon it that is all yours. The style that I've been raised in with this company has been classic food, but with a modernist, or classic with a modernist twist.
Okay. Someone will say, oh, what did you have to eat at such and such event? We had pot pies, but these pot pies, and then they'll go into what that was. Now, one of the criticisms I've heard about inspired occasions is that food is so beautiful. I'm just not sure I could eat it. But then, of course, they eat it anyway. The experience, the excitement over your food begins before you even touch it.
Yes, and that's always been, basically, it's been ingrained into me since I was born. Food is food, but if you present it right, it's something so much more. I always said that you taste food 5 times.
Okay.
You start with your eyes and you see it. And when it comes to the plate, if there's a sound with it, like the sizzling of fajitas or any of that. So there's the sound, there's the sight, there's the sound, there's the smell, there's the taste, and then there's that last all-important one, which is how it leaves you.
Because people are still making a sound after they've swallowed it. They go, oh my goodness, or you know, you've seen that. Tell me what we're going to make today and why we're making it.
Today, we're making Reubens, but not just any Reubens. We're going a little bit special with this and exactly the same thing. We are making our own house corned smoked beef shanks to use as the meat for the Reuben, and variation is a salmon pastrami.
For those people who don't do red meat.
Exactly.
We're Dutch covered.
But keeping it going, we're doing our own German potato salad and our own house-made sauerkraut to top this all off.
Okay. I think that you and I should go into the kitchen, and I think we should start cooking.
Oh, I agree with you.
Okay, and I think you should come with us. We we are in the kitchen at Inspired Occasions getting ready to make a grilled Reuben buffet with their Chef Stuart. Chef, okay, where do we begin?
What we're making today is German potato salad, a classic warm potato dish, but we've taken it and spun it in our own way. The normal way is you take potatoes and the skins, you boil them, mix it with the dressing, and while it's amazing, as is a classic, we've built our house upon that.
Okay.
And so we have multicolored fingerling and baby potatoes. I'm going to show you how we're slicing it up for presentation. We just take the potatoes, give them a nice thin slice. You see already that's so much more color than you would have with the other.
And don't be afraid to experiment with purple potatoes.
Oh,
and you know what they
exactly.
tell us? They tell us the more color in the food products, the greater the nutrition, not only the flavor, but both.
Exactly. We put just a little bit of extra virgin olive oil on these potatoes. A little bit of kosher salt. A little bit of cracked black pepper.
And we should mention that this is fresh cracked
Oh
black
yes, this
pepper.
is definitely. And then give it a nice toss.
Yes.
And then lay them all out on a sheet pan. Definitely get them all single layered because you don't want them steamy. You want them getting a nice flavor to them with that roastiness from the oven.
And what temperature would you say the oven should be?
Potatoes, all vegetables, when we roast high, 400 degrees.
400. All right,
All
let's
right,
remember that.
let's throw them in the oven. The next thing to do is to work right on the dressing. Okay,
This is the dressing for the potato salad.
Yes, the dressing for the potato salad.
Gotcha.
This is the dressing for the German potato salad. What we did was we rendered out some bacon, and
You know that bacon's a food group?
it is a food group. Pretty much everything from the pig is a food
I know,
group.
just a little bit, the flavor goes a long way. Okay, now what do we have here, Chef?
All right, in the pan we've sauteed down some onions and celery with the rendered bacon fat, and then we just threw in some fresh dill pickles right at the end.
Dill pickles.
Fresh chopped up dill pickles.
Okay, fun. This is fun. All right.
Exactly. So then we get this nice and golden. Toss our bacon right back in. So then we're going to add the dressing to this. It's a combination of extra virgin olive oil,
Yes.
cider vinegar, paprika, dry mustard, Worcestershire, and a little bit of
I have
pepper.
to smell it. Oh, heaven.
Oh, heaven, heaven,
Oh,
baby.
heaven.
All right, pour that in.
You weren't kidding when you were talking about the upscale new version of warm potato salad.
Exactly, and just smell that. Those flavors just coming all out.
Magnificent.
Oh, it'll mix so well with our smoked beef shank. All right, now we'll let the dressing get hot, and we'll pour it on our potatoes as soon as they're out of the oven.
So it needs to go on the potatoes while they're still warm.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
Any-
we won't forget that.
Oh no, please don't forget
we
that.
won't forget
Any
that.
potato salad, if the potatoes are warm, they will just soak up the dressing. It's the same thing with potatoes and pasta. The dressing is hot, the potatoes
Okay.
are out of the oven, it's time to toss.
Oh,
So we're gonna take
look at those potatoes.
beautiful roasted potatoes. Get a spatula. They might have just a little bit of stick on them, but you see the wonderful color they have?
But they have color, and so they have a
Exactly.
wonderful caramelization from roasting and all the flavor that's been infused from the seasoning, and now you're going to add even more flavor.
Exactly. Now we're
Okay.
gonna pour in the hot dressing on top of this.
Yes.
And you always want to be gentle with your potatoes.
Because we don't want them mashed.
Exactly.
No. Oh, the fragrance
Very,
is amazing.
Very, very gentle. But make sure you get all the potatoes very nicely
heavens.
coated and
Okay.
combined.
We're going to be pulling the wonderful corned beef shank out of the smoker in a minute. But what we want to talk about now is how you got it ready to go into the smoker. So what did you do?
Exactly. All right. A beef shank is a value cut. I mean, this is a big piece of forgotten meat, and we just want to rescue it.
Okay.
All right.
We're
So what we
rescuing it.
do is we take the beef shank.
Yes.
Everyone has a meat fork at home.
They do.
And just take it and pierce the meat several places, because this is much denser than brisket.
Okay.
And so it needs just this little bit of extra penetration power. The brine.
The brine.
And a corning brine is unbelievably easy to do, and it's so much better than anything you can get in the store. But it has very simple components.
All right.
Okay, so we have 6 quarts of water boiling over here.
All right.
We're gonna add our salt,
Yes.
kosher of course,
Of course.
sugar, brown sugar to help with caramelization and also give it that wonderful molasses flavor.
And just adds that depth of flavor. And
Exactly. This is our homemade pickling spice, which has black peppercorns, allspice, cloves, bay leaves, cinnamon, mustard, coriander, all the classics. We have minced garlic. Put that in there for some extra flavor. And then this is indispensable in getting that wonderful rosy hue to corn and preserved products. It's pink salt. It's pink salt specifically for curing. The last ingredient
Yes.
is honey.
So you are constantly you go from sweet to the savory, and you're just balancing it with every single thing you are putting into this brining mixture.
Exactly. That is the whole goal of this, is just make this the most complete brine we can, the most flavorful, balanced. Exactly. We want to take your mouth on a journey. Whenever you read a brine recipe, it'll always give you a certain amount of water to use.
Yes.
What we like to do is cut back on that water just enough, say 3 or 4 pounds, and add that back in ice after all the salt is melted. That way it cools down the brine so much faster and allows you to work with your product a lot quicker.
Okay. The beef has been brined, and in the smoker we've prepared the warm potato salad, and now for the salmon pastrami. How did you do this?
Okay, we were thinking about this way. A Reuben has been a Reuben forever. We've
has.
kind of taken it around and changed it a little bit with the corn smoked beef shank. But now, why not go a little bit different? Let's do salmon pastrami. And we figured out a way to do it just with giving it a classic cure and also getting all those good flavors into the actual salmon itself.
So what has this been? The salmon has spent some time with salt here?
Yeah, it has.
Yes.
It's spent a little bit of time with salt. But what we did is we took just a little bit of a salmon fillet and poured a little bit of kosher salt over the top of it and let it sit overnight, just enough so it was covering. Now it's basically done a quick cure. Quick rinse off.
Yep.
Give it a quick rinse to the pastrami part of this.
Okay.
Okay, so in here we have some classic blackstrap molasses. Now
Yes.
this is brown sugar, paprika, salt, a little bit of pepper, some crushed up bay leaves, all just mixed up nicely, and we're going to mix it into this to form a paste that will set on top. We're only going to put about 2/3 of this just right on top of the fish.
Okay.
And then we're just going to leave that in the refrigerator overnight without a top on it to air dry and give a nice little pellicle, if you will, a nice little formation on top.
And you know, we don't always have to cover things in the refrigerator because sometimes the cold and the air both work together
Exactly.
to create the dish.
Once it's been in the refrigerator for 2 days, the topping has kind of given a nice little crust to the salmon. We're going to take the remaining mixture, spread it on top, and then the joy of our smoker over here is we're going to cold smoke it for a couple hours just to get that nice smoke flavor on it.
Okay. Now we're on to the sauerkraut for this grilled Reuben buffet, and look what you did. Oh my word, tell me how you did this.
All right, this is our homemade sauerkraut, and it is unbelievably easy. In fact, everyone should be able to make this in their home. And you know what? They used to. And that is the joy of it.
Yeah.
But what we did was you take green cabbage, slice it nice and thin, and then we mix it with a little bit of salt and spices. We have juniper and caraway in it right now.
Yes.
And then just put it in a container. Some people always had a crock back home. Pack it in, get it nice and tight, a little bit of saran wrap over the top, and then just a gallon bag full of water right on top of that to help keep all of the air out and keep weight on it.
So what we're doing is two things. We're eliminating air and we're putting weight.
Yes, because the weight will help press down, because as the cabbage is salted, it's going to start leaching out its natural liquid.
Yes.
And you just want this to keep pressing down and all that liquid to keep coming up and to help marinate all this.
All right, so of course we're going to have the recipe on the web, but it's seriously simple.
All right, and now for the star of the show. Our smoked corn beef shank.
Okay.
This
And you know,
guy,
one of the important things is keeping that bone in because it imparts flavor.
so much flavor.
So
Cooking
much flavor.
food with the bone in imparts so much flavor, but also a greater texture and moisture to it. And this is now absolutely beautiful. It's got a nice crispy outside to it, but the meat's tender and moist and smoky on the inside. And it's got all those wonderful corn flavors in there as well. So it is just comforting on top of comforting.
This is gonna work. I think we should gather up all this wonderful food you and your dad have been making and go on out to that gorgeous buffet and invite our celebrity taster to join us.
I think we need to.
Okay. We have just been in the kitchen at Inspired Occasions cooking up a storm for the grilled Reuben buffet. And before we bring the food out, Lon, we need to create the setting.
We need to create the ambiance.
Ambiance,
Absolutely.
More than setting, ambiance.
Absolutely.
Okay, tell me what we have here, why you built this infrastructure, and where we're going with it.
Perfect. Okay, the concept is we're going to do grilled Reubens, but some people may not want a sandwich, okay?
That's true.
So we're going to do carved meats, and then we're going to do the salmon pastrami that's going to be carved tableside, and that's going to be one section of the buffet, and then we're going to have the grilled Reubens and the warm potato salad on the other side of the buffet. So in keeping with our modernist approach and retro type foods, what we're going to do is we're going to create a little bit of a charcuterie, old world, marble, iron, candles, flowers type thing for the buffet. This is where we're going to be carving the corned beef shank. And this board is a marble board and it really needs to be warmed. As you can see, we have floating candles that go underneath the marble board, and it serves two purposes. It's going to heat the marble board, but it's also going to give light and ambiance to the table and reflection as guests approach it. Okay?
Multi-purpose.
Multi-purpose.
Okay.
Eventually, we're going to bring them in. We're going to have some plates and things here, but this is where we're going to do the salmon. Now, the salmon pastrami does not have to be hot, so we don't have light underneath that. Now, finally, we've chosen a black triangular plate for this portion of the buffet, and it's a larger plate so that if someone wants to carve meats, then they can have the carved meats and the rest of the things like the sauerkraut and the potatoes and all of the good stuff. Now I'm going to angle the napkins in here at an angle to kind of contrast with the triangles of the plates. Our color palette is going to be a chocolate brown, lemon yellow, and lime green. And later on as we go through the buffet, you're going to see how we're going to bring all of those elements together to create kind of an exciting look. And our votive candles are going to go on, and they're going to match. We're going to put them in an angle, and they're going to match the layout of the napkins and complement that. Then we're going to just draw a little line right down the table that's going to lead the eye into what our next food element is going to be, which will be the sauerkraut. And that's going to sit right in here, okay? The next side of the buffet is where we're going to be grilling the Reubens. And of course we're going to need plates here, which we'll get. We have a shaper of the potato salad. We will have eventually raw Reubens here ready to grill. This marble board, again, warmed by floating candles. And then our grilling station will be in the back. And so our grill person will take the unfinished Reubens, grill them, and put them up on this warm marble board for guests to take.
All right, Lon, you've done it. You have, what do we call it, juxtaposition. You have taken the old world charm, if you will, of the Reuben sandwich, that heavy European food. You have made it upscale today. You've given us the option of salmon. You have offered a deconstructed sandwich. You've offered the traditional experience with the Reuben. You have taken the colors of this stunning floral arrangement and you have carried it throughout the experience on the table. Mostly you've made it exciting and accessible to your guests.
Thank you.
I think we need to go into the kitchen, get the food, and bring our celebrity taster over to taste it. We have been in the kitchen at Inspired Occasions getting ready for a grilled Reuben buffet. We have some wonderful flavors going on here, Chef. What should we drink with this signature dish?
Well, we have 3 different options for this that can go in 3 different ways, however you would like to pair it. We have a Chateau Saint Michel Riesling.
Yes.
Now, this is a lighter, sweeter, crisper wine that pairs really well, cutting the smokiness and the acidity and the tartness of the sauerkraut.
Okay.
But pairing really well with both the smokiness of the red meat and also the lightness of the salmon.
Okay, so for white wine lovers.
For white wine lovers,
this is going to work?
This is a perfect
Okay,
beverage.
now what if we like red wine and we just don't want to talk about anything but red?
Well, if you just like talking about red,
Okay.
this right here, the Heron Pinot.
Okay.
Now, this is just an absolutely wonderful Pinot Noirs. Go very well with both red meat, but also with salmon. So it pairs well on both of them. But the flavor profiles and the creaminess of the Pinot Noir pair really well with the smoke of the beef and kind of just act as a good vehicle.
What can we do now if you just have to have a beer with your Reuben?
You know what?
What are you going to do?
Some dishes, you just want a beer.
You just
Don't
want a
make
beer.
2 comments about it. You just want a beer.
You do.
And this is what we love, the Boulevard Bully Porter. Now,
Is this our Boulevard Brewing Company
it
in
is our
Kansas
Boulevard
City? It's
Brewing
our
Company.
guys. Okay.
We love supporting local businesses, and especially when they put out an amazing product. Anyway, and so we love the molassesy, the darkness, the richness of this, just pairing really well with both the pumpernickel bread and the wonderful smoky textures and the corning flavors of the beef.
Okay, I think we've got our beverages covered. Now we should go and invite our celebrity taster to taste the dish and sip the beverages. Thank you, Chef.
You're welcome.
So we have been in the kitchen at Inspired Occasions getting ready for their grilled Reuben buffet. They're preparing for a fundraiser for CCVI. And of course, as always on In the Kitchen, we invite a celebrity taster in to taste the food and sip the beverage. And to do that, we have Rodney Knott with us. Rodney is the executive director of Reengage, and basically it's a program to help us break the cycle of poverty. You're doing some groundbreaking work there, which we will talk about, but we need to eat first.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we do. Okay, so both Chef Lon and Stuart have been working very hard to create this feast. Gentlemen, how do we begin?
Let's eat.
No encouragement beyond that.
Okay, well, what Stuart has here to explain to you is the smoked beef, corned beef shank.
I saw it come out.
Then we have the salmon pastrami and the sauerkraut. So grab a plate, grab a little bit of each of whatever you like. There are forks at the end of the buffet, and just have a ball.
This is the sauerkraut, but it's not, I mean, it's, I guess, the way our grandmothers made sauerkraut back in the day.
Or the grandson makes it today.
But the grandson, you know, thank you for preserving the recipes that came to us over the generations. They would be lost if we didn't have chefs like the two of you caring about that. And, oh.
The potato salad. Yes.
How am I going to have room? Oh, I'll make room, don't worry.
Okay.
And this is warm potato
And
salad.
this is the grilled Reuben.
Grilled Reuben. Okay. So we have been cooking, we have been pairing, and Rodney and I just went through the grilled Reuben buffet. The chefs have made 3 suggestions for what we might want to enjoy with the dish. There is a Pinot Noir, there is a Riesling, and there's a
Bully Porter.
See,
from
I
Boulevard.
was counting on you to remember what the beer was, because it's kind of a guy thing. So now you have a task before you to taste the food and sip the beverages.
Yes.
Okay,
I'm
so
looking forward to it.
I know, and I'm going to. You better hurry because I can't wait. Ooh, yum. Oh, that's amazing.
Delicious.
I don't believe I've tasted a Reuben sandwich like this before. It may have something to do with the fact that they did the corned beef in-house. They made everything in-house.
I have never had a Reuben like this. It's delightful. I'm normally not a sauerkraut person, but I could eat this.
You're converted, aren't you?
I could eat this.
Yeah, you're a changed person. Okay, and now to taste the salmon. They call it a salmon pastrami because they cured it and treated it as the way you, perhaps you would do that to beef. And as you know, there are people who don't eat red meat.
Yes.
They're trying to please several kinds of palates with this buffet. There's a second part to your assignment. You have to sip the beverages. All right, to your health and to life
Salute.
and to all the good work you do here in the community. Oh. Huh, you weren't expecting this, were you?
No.
Because it's a little bit sweet and it stands up to the flavorings that they did with the salty and the sweet. My gosh, those guys did it. All right. Now, we're supposed to taste the red wine. It's a Pinot Noir, which is very friendly for food.
Okay.
So I just took a little potato. I better pay attention to this. All right. This is for bed.
Okay.
Into your health, into life.
Salute.
Okay.
No, normally it takes a red to stand up to beef, and that does a very good job.
But it's not an overpowering
No.
beef, and they're still trying to make it work with the potatoes and with the salmon. That's sauerkraut. You know, and the other part to this is the preserving of the slow cooked movement. And this is the beer, and so.
Salute.
Salute. Wow.
Yeah, kind of robust.
Yeah, it's kind of robust.
It's definitely a bully.
Smooth. Well, okay, obviously you know more about this than I do, but it's smooth.
Yes.
It's smooth, and that's
Yes.
probably why the guys decided to do it with this food. Oh, isn't this Lon Lane has been catering for 21 years.
Yes.
He has a series of awards that's very impressive. But at the end of the day, it's all about the amount of care that he has taken and consistently takes with the work that he does, now on to the next generation with his son.
Yes.
I'm sure you can relate to that because you're giving a great deal of care to the work that you're doing. And I would like to talk about one of those projects because it is unique, not unlike what Lon Lane does with his food, and that is the man class.
Yes.
What is the man class?
Well, first of all, I should explain that although I am doing social services, I'm not a social worker. And so when I decided to participate, I didn't come from a social work background. I'm a computer network engineer by trade. And so in engineering, the first thing they teach you is to solve a problem backwards. You find the solution and then you work backwards. Whereas in other disciplines, you work forward. Now the problem with working
We
forward...
needed a new perspective on this issue.
Yes, when you
Thank
work
you.
forward, you can chase rabbits and end up being led astray, which unfortunately has occurred over the last few decades. But the man class is basically a curriculum I developed with a group of psychologists from the University of Missouri, Kansas City. And it is a 12-session curriculum designed to transform males into men.
I see. Okay, I know because I read in your program description that so many of our families have absentee fathers and how that contributes to the cycle of poverty, and giving them an opportunity to have that instruction that they might have received from their father had their father been more present in their lives.
Exactly.
And so you're doing that for us. I want to thank you for your creativity and your innovation. You are partaking of a meal that is the result of creativity and innovation. Kansas City is a very fortunate city in that we have people who care about quality and are passionate about it, and we're better for it.
Yes.
So thank you for your work with the MAN class and obviously to Lon Lane. And you may know that this food is going to a fundraiser for the Center for Children with Visual Impairments. So thanks to all for this great community that we live in.
Thank you. It was an honor and a pleasure to be here.
This week we are in the cellar to discuss pairing wine for occasions of love. That would include upcoming Valentine's Day, weddings, and showers, engagement parties. To do that, we are going back into the cellar with Chris Cribb, who is the Managing Director of Marquee Selections. And Chris, thank you for inviting us back into this beautiful cellar here at the American Restaurant.
Sure, glad to be here with you, Bonnie.
Okay, love.
Yes.
I mean, wine and chocolate, most of these things go with romantic occasions.
Absolutely.
All right, so.
Wine has been brought to man for special occasions in a lot of ways. So.
Yes, it has. And many of our special occasions include wine.
They do.
So let's talk about chocolate, because you want to win a girl's heart. Chocolate will probably be a part of that effort.
Sure.
What wines do you have with chocolate?
Well, I'd like to go ahead and say, first off, there's a number of different small boutique chocolatiers that make some great little gifts. So if you're thinking of trying to come up with a novel little basket for your partner for Valentine's Day, you go ahead and you buy your box of chocolates, and I like to find the ones that have a few different flavors in them.
And that makes it probably a little more challenging, because we're seeing chocolate infused with peppers, chili peppers, which is amazing.
Yes.
With lime, with other fruit flavors,
Sure.
as well as the traditional nuts.
On the chocolate, I would go with red wine.
Okay.
I would say that you're probably safer to try to go into either a red wine that is a little drier,
Because of the sweet of the
chocolate, or to go all the way to a sweet wine if you get into the port category.
Okay.
So there's fortified red wines in that category. But a couple of them that I like in my portfolio, we do a deep red wine called Silver Wings. I think we might have had it at another show.
We've been in the cellar with Silver Wings before.
Yeah, it's a nice deep red wine, so it compares to something that's got like a little nut in it, like some almond, chocolate covered almond, something like that.
You're making me hungry.
The wine that I chose here, this is our Shiraz Cabernet. So it's by the same person.
Okay.
So this is the organic Shiraz Cabernet, and specifically on a chocolate stage, I think this is kind of the type of thing that would go with a nice chocolate covered caramel, or maybe a chocolate with a little sea salt in it.
Or a chocolate with a caramel with sea salt.
Yeah, all
on
three,
it. All three of those.
Maybe even some pralines, that's got a little bit of that toffee flavor. What I find with that coffee, or that toffee flavor, that caramelized flavor, with the red wine and the right pairing, it'll bring that out of the wine. And there's nothing better than just a nice glass to sit and sip and taste and check the difference between them.
If I were to generalize, would you say the darker the chocolate, the more it wants red, or is that not?
Yeah, no,
would you?
Really,
Okay.
If you think from milk chocolate all the way over to a dark, deep ganache, you're going to go kind of the same way with your wine. So you go with the milk chocolate more like a Pinot Noir or a light Merlot, with the stuff that's kind of a combination between the two. Something that's full-on dark chocolate might be with the Cabernet.
This is serious.
Yeah.
Yes, serious. Okay.
And then I think the way you split it apart as well is, what else you're putting with it. If you're putting coconut with it, that's a deep departure. So you need something a little bit different. And that's really when I try to look at say, desserts. We do a lot of wine dinners where we want to go ahead and have a whole dessert paired with wine, and for everyone at the meal. We're going with a deep, dark chocolate ganache cake. We might go with some raspberry preserves over the top of
we
it.
might.
Something
We
like
could do
that.
that.
And then we'd probably go with the bigger red wine because both of those would stand up to it.
Of course. Whereas if it were more citrus, such as a key lime tart,
Yes.
then you would go with a lighter
Lighter
wine.
If you want to try to find something that's got a little more acid to it, to kind of compare with
The sweet and the
with
tart.
The sweet and the tart.
Okay. All right. So we're now planning many weddings.
Yes.
So there's what to drink with the cake. Champagne frequently comes to mind. Traditional wedding cakes. What wine would you pair with that wedding cake?
Well, I'd say I'm kind of a traditionalist myself, so
Okay.
sparkling wine's probably my number one choice. This example of this is a Vino Verde, and it's a blend of Trejadura and Albarino. And Albarino is the same grape as Albarino, which is made in Spain. So it's a light white grape. It's known for being kind of a coconutty citrus flavor. So it would be another good comparison for that light citrus meal, or even a white cake. I don't know that it would be good for the chocolate cake, but
No. But that would go great with a white cake. Wouldn't
white
that
cake
go
or that
great?
key lime pie,
Or the key lime pie, which I'm so very.
I've been
so
waiting to see you make one for me.
I think I'm going to have to do that because we did that over the holidays and it was
Good.
devoured.
Good.
And I should tell you that the recipe comes from the executive chef at Roselle Court at the Nelson Atkins
Oh,
Museum of
good.
Art. So we've talked about the wedding cake and we've talked about Valentine's Day since we're focusing on occasions of love. But leading up to that wedding are some showers, bridal showers. I was just in the liquor store the other day, and this poor woman, so it's usually an afternoon event, either a luncheon or some heavy hors d'oeuvres or whatever, and she had no idea what to serve a bunch of ladies at the bridal shower. What would you have suggested to her?
Well, in those occasions, and I get that same question
I bet you do.
several times, and I tend to go pick a simple theme.
Okay.
Whether it's going to be one winery, one region, one area, and choose a red and white from those regions, or a red and white and a rosé, depending on it's the summertime. I kind of add the rosé to it.
Okay.
But say from Argentina, we have our Staccato, which is a Malbec Cabernet blend, and the Grazioso, which is a Torontis. So you've got a light white, easy drinking white for about anybody, and you have a red that has Cabernet, which is something that everyone knows. But it's medium bodied.
Right,
So,
it's not so strong.
so I wouldn't tell the same person, go pick the regular Chardonnay and Cabernet. That was 10 years ago.
Okay.
The new
Today.
the new pick is something a light white, and so this Vino Verde from Portugal is a good example.
Would work.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then I would probably pick a Portuguese red to go with it.
So that's interesting when you're entertaining, and you always want to offer at least a red and a white. It's best to do it from the same vineyard.
It's very nice.
Marquis Selections is a very unique portfolio. How did Marquis happen?
Well, we did some research starting in 2001 to figure out how to get in the wine business, and we looked at a number of small vineyards down in Australia, and we found that none of them could export to the United States by themselves.
Sure.
And so we brought them together under one brand, and we started the Marquis Australian wine brand there, and from there have grown it in 30-some states throughout the U.S. and different territories, adding new strategic wineries as we've grown 2003, 4, 5, through to the last 4 years, where we've added Spain, Portugal, some regions that are far away from where we started. Yeah.
Argentina. Did you ever know that? I mean, this is a global portfolio.
Well,
It was a hope.
yeah, we had a hope. We had a focus on trying to find unique products. And once we saw how many unique products we could have from Australia, we thought, well, these other emerging regions are great places to bring new product from. And so we tried to have been running the trends and being half a step ahead so that you're right at the front line.
So I know you personally go visit these vineyards,
Yes.
and you talk to the winemakers. Many of them are green as well. And because these are more unique and they're newer to the American market, the value is fabulous. It really, sometimes we feel either overwhelmed or intimidated by wine, and you've been a wonderful help in making it feel accessible to us. So you taste them, you test them, and
And what we're trying to do is to make sure that when you see marquee selections on the bottle, on the import, you can trust that brand is a good value for the money. So that you can come back to it, whether it's trying a new one, maybe you haven't tried Portuguese white wines, trying a new one, or going back to some of our classic favorites that you tried before, that you can still have a good value for any of the wines in the portfolio.
okay, so how can we learn more about your portfolio and where to go get them?
Well, you can find me and the rest of the team at Marquee at www.marquee.com. We've got all of our links to our social media, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube there, so you can check us all out and join up.
I know we're going to come back into the cellar and talk about wine glasses, and
Yeah,
I
I
look
think we've got a
forward.
couple lessons ready
I
to
think
give
we
you
do.
on some wine glasses.
Cheers
Cheers to your health.
to your health.